Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Right, okay, so this is a special edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. We are currently, I suppose, nearing the end of our current game, the 25th edition. We are in that one, we are in the sixth rounds now, with four people left in there. This game is not part of the 25th edition. This is just its own standalone one round game. So basically, what I've done is it's for the Usyk Fury boxing cards because there's not a lot else going on until the UFC returns on the 12th of January. So, and because it is a big card as well, it's could prove to be a very historic card in, as far as heavyweight boxing goes. Uh, I decided to put all of the people who entered the 25th edition, all 33 of you, excuse me, all 23, all 33, sorry. Right, there you go. So basically, for this card, all 33 that entered the 25th are back in this for one round. You're going to be drawn with uh, a fighter from the Usyk Fury card. If your fighter wins, then you're one of the winners of the game. If your fighter loses, then obviously you're not. Um, we did a similar thing last year. There was a Day of Reckoning boxing cards, massive cards featuring the likes of Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, etc. But this, anyway, you get the idea. I think. I know. Anyways, I'm just sort of stumbling over my own words here. One-off boxing game. Um, anyway, just think it's probably best to remind ourselves who entered the 25th edition initially, because they're the ones that are going to be in this one. So back in for this one round, one-off edition, we have A, Bellatrix, Boom Shakalaka, Calfoth, Canhaga Aries, Captain Quebec, C. Collins 44, Cheeseball, Coolhand Puke, Costradamus, Damien Handel 420, Dr. Maxis 2, El Guapo, Foghorn Sam, It's Your Boy SB, Jack Soto, KK Kombu, Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake, Mule Floyd, Piggy Bank, Rigno, Shat, Schwer Industry, Cian6, me, Stephen Terry, The Dirty UFC Man, The MMA Historian, Trail Allman, Trig, Troz, Ubermatch, and XCon Chris. Okay, so that's they're the 33 lucky bastards waiting to go at it, and as I don't think I've already mentioned enough times, so this is the event we got is Fury versus Usyk. I hope you saw that because I'm not sure if I actually shared that Excel sheet when I was just going through it or not. There we go. But anyway, back onto the main page. Usyk Fury. In all honesty, I see it being a repeat of last time. Last time, of course, Usyk won by split decision, and I don't. As for the exact methods of decision, I'm not sure, but I don't know how close it's going to be. But I still reckon it's Usyk is too skillful for Fury, but I don't think he's quite powerful enough to stop Fury because Fury is a very, very tough fighter, very durable. Um, and I don't think that Usyk's quite got enough power to stop him, but it could happen if Fury gasses himself out, and Usyk might be able to finish him off. But I think he's just going to be a similar story, really. Usyk, Fury might win some of the earlier rounds on pure strength alone because he's coming in with a massive size advantage. I think he's coming in 55 pounds heavier than Usyk. So he'll probably win a few of the early rounds on strength, but I think once he starts to tire out, Usyk would just take over. And yeah, it's just outpoint him for a decision win. So Usyk to win by decision is my official guess for that one. But you've already listened to me ramble enough. Let's get on with the draw. First up is A. Let's see who he's going to be drawn with. Let's see if he'll be one of our winners. And I reckon he will be because he's got Muhammad Alakel. So that is Mohammedazee. And yeah, the reason I think he's going to be one of our winners is because that's probably the biggest banker on the card. All the other fights on the card are fairly close, at least in terms of their records anyway. This is your typical young, inexperienced fighter versus journeyman with way more losses than wins kind of fight. Alakel was only had the one fight so far. That was a unanimous decision win versus a guy called Jesus Gonzalez, who was 3-2. He's now fighting Joshua Campo, who's got 8 wins, 6 by knockout, to be fair, and 33 losses and 5 draws. But of those 33 losses, only 2 are by knockout. So normally goes the distance, but just gets outworked. A typical boxing journeyman, really. Not a lot else to say about that. Obviously, 8 wins on his record, 5 draws as well. He can scrape the odd win here and there. Maybe given the size of this card, that's what he'll be motivated to do. But this is in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed Alakel's from Saudi Arabia. So if this goes to the cards at all, Alakel's winning. It's simple as that. So if Ocampo is going to win, he'll need a knockout. But realistically, we can expect this just to be a typical young prospect versus journeyman. Just outwork the journeyman. That's glorified sparring session, basically. Another win on to build the record. So I reckon A is going to be one of our winners. Because like I say, this is the only round we're doing. This is just a one-off edition. So I reckon he'll be, in theory, you can expect about half of you to be winners in this game. Given his things like 50-50 chance on the wheel, it expects about half of you to be winners. And I reckon A is going to be one of them. Next up is Bellatrix. Let's see who the wheel's got in store for Bellatrix. And Bellatrix gets Johnny Fisher, another big favourite there. One of the more exciting heavyweight prospects we're coming up in the UK scene at the moment. Currently 12-0, 11 of those 12 by way of knockout. Yeah, he's like I say, he's just hasn't got many huge names on his record. But again, this like I say, we're boxing when you until you get to about sort of 20 or you're going to be fighting various no-name people. So this is his first real test against Dave Allen. 23 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. I think the main thing really to focus on here is that of those 6 losses, Allen has been knocked out in 4 of them. When you compare that with Johnny Fisher's 11 knockouts from 12 wins, it doesn't bode well for Dave Allen here. So I've gone with a 3rd round knockout there for Johnny Fisher. Also minus 2,000 on the betting as well. So yeah, just to really rub it in. The bookies make it perfectly clear who they're expecting to win as well. So I think Bellatrix would also be one of our winners. Boom Shakalaka, next to face the wheel. And, let's just say that Boom Shakalaka is not going to be one of our winners, unless some major upsets. happens because he's got Joshua Ocampo, who was just talking about a couple of minutes ago. I say the journeyman facing Mohamed Alakel. Yeah. As I was saying, really, the only hope is if he can, if he decides to really stick it to the Saudis and say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go knock out Mohamed Alakel, um, and goes and knocks him out. But really, because he's not winning on the scorecards. Even if he wins the fight, he's not winning on the scorecards. So, and who knows? Maybe he's got 8 wins, and 6 of those wins by knockout. So maybe there's a slight chance. Given how this is probably his most high-profile fight of his career, this is certainly enough motivation, I suppose. But I still I can't see him getting a win there. So I don't think Boom Shakalaka will be one of the winners in this game. Calforth is next to take on the wheel. And he gets Reese Edwards. Reese Edwards for Calforth. Let's see, where is Reese Edwards? Here he is. Very tough. One of the closer ones on the cards against Peter McGrail. Reese Edwards is 16-0, currently undefeated. So, but only 4 of those wins by knockout. So not really a power puncher, but tends to outwork his opponents. As Peter McGrail was 10 wins and 1 loss. With that one loss being a knockout loss, but the bookies still have Reese Edwards as the plus 320 underdog. So, and to be honest, I've also gone with Peter McGrail as well. So it's not a lot in it. McGrail's loss, let's just address that. That was a 5th-round knockout loss versus somebody of a very similar record, actually, to Reese Edwards, which is 16 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, called Jericho O'Quinn in his first trip to the USA in 2023. It's a big thing about British fighters trying to make it over in the States. He went over there and got knocked out. So, granted, I don't really know anything about that opponent, Jericho Quinn. Just noteworthy that someone with a similar record to Edwards got a knockout win, but Edwards doesn't really pose a knockout threat, in my opinion. So, as for Edwards, he did score a win, quite a very impressive looking one. As far as the record's concerned, he won against he won against a guy called Thomas Patrick Ward, who's 34 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw in his last, and that was in his last fight. And the thing with Edwards is he's already booked for a fight on the 11th of January of 2025, so less than a month away after this fight against Leon Woodstock, who's 16-3. So at the very least, Edwards better not get knocked out because that fight would be in jeopardy. Probably be all right if it's just a points loss, which that's what I reckon it will be. But interesting to see that on BoxRec anyway. They've already got him booked for another fight. Anyway, Peter McGrail for decision wins my prediction for that one. So it's a close fight, but yeah, I've got the slight underdog there, Calforth. Can Hager Ruiz next to face the wheel? Let's see. See who Hager Ruiz gets. He gets Dempsey McKean. Dempsey McKean there for Canega Ruiz. And it's a tall ask, to be honest, with Dempsey McKean. because he's up against another very promising heavyweight prospect, Moses Atuma. 10-0 with 8 of those wins coming by way of knockout. All of those 8 wins, they've all come off by knockout. They've all come in it's the first or second round. So basically, he's gone the distance twice, but basically he's only really had 2 full boxing matches. Basically, every other fight's ended in the first or second round. So maybe that's a lack of experience that might come back and bite him from where he's been knocking all his opponents out. But who knows? I don't think he'll be able to knock out Dempsey McKean quite as quickly. McKean, by the way, is 22 wins, 1 loss, no draws. So that 1 loss though. That's a very respectable loss. That was a TKO loss in the 12th round against Filip Hrgovic, who even the most casual boxing fans are probably familiar with that name. Very scary knockout artist. Only one of the heavyweight champions, Daniel Dubois, has been able to really sort out an answer to him. So yeah, no shame in that loss at all. Um, but yeah, the fact still remains he's a very durable opponent, a very tough opponent, but he might be able to take Atuma the distance. I think Atuma is going to get a late knockout though. I've predicted the 9th round, but really I've no clue. It's either a late knockout for Atuma or a decision for him. So yeah, that's it's a bit of a tall order, but it'll be a huge upset if he can pull it off. So good luck to Kenhego Ruiz for that. Captain Quebec next to face the whip. Yep, it also gets Dempsey McKean. So as I just said, is facing one of the best prospects at the heavyweight division at the moment in boxing. So it's going to be a tall order. Even just surviving would be respectable for him. But yeah, not a whole lot I can add on to that one. As it goes down, I think you'll find that my analysis will become a lot more curt, a lot shorter, simply because there's only actually 9 fights on this card. Whereas compare it to a UFC card that we normally use for these games, they're about at least 12 to 15 is a general number of fights they'll have on a card. So, and because there's 33 of you, 18 fighters, you don't need to be a mathematician to work out that there's going to be some double ups. It's literally impossible to avoid double ups. So we probably could end up in a situation where there's about 5 or 6 of you all on the same fighter, or on multiple fighters even. So yeah, anyway, not a whole lot I can really say about Dempsey McKean. So again, we'll move on to C Collins 44. Let's see who he gets drawn with. And we get another double up there, Mohamed Alakel. Yeah, as I've already mentioned, that's in terms of our game anyway. That's A and C Collins up against Boom Shakalaka, so it's a head to head there. But yeah, he's the little Saudi. Well, I was going to say little. Is well, not really little, but it's in terms of experience as well. I mean, it's only 1 fight under his belt, but as per usual boxing politics, it should just play out as gets a decision win against the journeyman Ocampo and just move on with his career, gradually facing better and better opposition. Although it's still going to be for another facing journeyman for another 10, 20 fights or so. So yeah, anyway, I reckon that C Collins 44 will be one of our winners in that one. Cheeseball is next to face the wheel. And Cheeseball gets Lee McGregor. Lee McGregor there for Cheese ball. It's an interesting one. Scotland versus England. This is Lee McGregor of Scotland against Isaac Lowe of England. Lee McGregor, 14 wins, 11 by way of knockout, one loss and one draw. Um, he's a slight favourite, minus 190, but it is a 50-50 one. Isaac Lowe, on the other hand, 25 wins, eight of those coming by way of knockout. So not really a huge punching threat. Certainly not as much as McGregor is. McGregor certainly poses more of a threat in terms of knockouts. But anyway, Isaac Lowe, 25 wins, two losses, and three draws, and both of those losses have been knockout losses. As for McGregor, he's well, let's see, he's in 2021, he actually KO'd a guy called Vincent Legrand, who was 32-0 at the time. I'll be lying if I said I'm an expert on Legrand. So obviously you can assume that 32-0 is fairly padded, but a very noteworthy win nonetheless. Is even in boxing, you have to fight people halfway decent after 32 fights. So that could stack up as well, a key piece of experience for him. Isaac Lowe, as I mentioned, two losses. Both of those losses come by are knockout losses. Yeah, so yeah, somebody who's already been knocked out twice against someone with the power of McGregor. It doesn't bode well for Isaac Lowe. So I've gone with eighth round knockouts for McGregor, a late knockout there. So yeah, I reckon Cheeseball's going to be one of our winners for this one. Cool Hand Puke. Next, face the wheel. And he gets one of the main eventers, Alexander Usyk, the reigning, defending heavyweight champion of the world. So, I mean, it's a bit complicated. It's not because he's not actually undisputed anymore. Because boxing politics, one of the bodies, I'm not even sure which one it is off the top of my head. They stripped Usyk because he couldn't fight a mandatory or whatever. And that belt wound up in Daniel Dubois' hands. But he's still got most of the belts. So, for all intents and purposes, he basically is the undisputed, especially seeing he's already beaten Dubois in his career. So, anyway, he's obviously defending against Tyson Fury. I've already talked about how I expect the match to pan out, but talk a little bit on the background of Usyk. Still fairly new to the heavyweight scene. Spent most of his career at cruiserweight. If we go right back to the early days, he was a very decorated amateur boxer as well. 100 amateur fights, 88 wins, 12 losses. And I know you're thinking of 12 losses in the pro game, that would be bad, but really, if it's for that many fights at amateur, losses really don't matter in amateur boxing, but they do in pro boxing. It's a weird thing, but basically you can't really put too much stock into losses at amateur. But 88 wins, that is still very impressive. Not nearly as impressive as 88 pro wins would be. Bloody hell, that's Julio Cesar Chavez levels. But plenty of boxing experience before turning pro. Some of the names on his record, obviously at heavyweight, Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, Derek Chisora. And then before then, when he was fighting the cruiserweights, he had Tony Bellew and Maris Paredes, probably the most noteworthy ones on his record. Obviously up against Tyson Fury, very respectable record himself. 33, certainly more pro fights with 34 losses, rather, not 33, 34 wins, one draw, one loss, one draw, whereas Alexander Usyk 22-0. But yeah, it's the only advantages I'd say Fury does have is obviously the pro experience, but that's pretty much nullified by Usyk's amateur experience. Fury was actually 20-3 as an amateur fighter himself, to be fair, but 23 fights compared to 100 fights is a bit of a difference. So Usyk really isn't that much more inexperienced as it would appear at a glance. Obviously, Fury's got the size advantage as well, coming in 55 pounds heavier. Um, if it wasn't heavyweight, that would never get sanctioned, would it? Like, when else do you see fighters 55 bloody pounds apart fighting each other? Only that can happen in heavyweight boxing, couldn't it? Even the UFC have a 265-pound limit for their heavyweights. Not anyone. Well, I was going to say actually, was it Julian or Justin Taffer? I think it was one of them that missed weight one time. I think it's Justin Taffer. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. It's either Julian or Justin Taffer. But all I'm saying is that basically, for comparison, Usyk would be a fairly standard sized UFC heavyweight, maybe a little undersized to be honest, compared to some of them. Whereas McGregor, no, not McGregor. Well, who am I talking McGregor for? Fury would be well, he's not even making the UFC heavyweight limit. Nonetheless, once Fury starts to tire a bit, I expect Usyk's going to just take over, particularly in the championship rounds, and it's going to be another decision win for Usyk. Also, potentially making Cool Hand Puke one of our winners. Anyway, Kostradamus next to face the wheel. Let's see what the wheel's got in store for Kostradamus. It also gives him Johnny Fisher as well, just like Bellatrix. So obviously, as I've mentioned, he's heavy favourite. The Romford Bull, I love that nickname, by the way. As I say, still only 12-0, so still a little inexperienced, but going up against Dave Allen, 23 wins, 6 losses, and like I say, 4 of those losses by knockouts. That doesn't bode well for somebody who's relied mostly on his power so far in his career. So yeah, as I think I mentioned before, I've got a 3rd round knockout for Johnny Fisher there, and it's an uphill battle there for Dave Allen. Damien Handel for 20 next to face the wheel. Let's see who the duck gets. And he gets Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, on the other half of the heavyweight title fight. Obviously up against Cool Hand Puke and Alexander Usyk. If Fury is going to win, he's going to need to rely on that power, potentially stop it early. Particularly if he's going to tire out Usyk at all, which I can't. It's going to be a tall ask because Usyk's got energy today. His gas tank is ridiculous. He's he's a heavyweight with a cruiserweight's stamina. It's it's going to be a tough order, but we do see Fury try and put his weight on his opponent in the clinch, try and wear him down that way, take their legs away. Maybe Fury can use that extra weight, the 55 pounds extra, to get Usyk out of there early. Who knows? But it's heavyweight boxing. One punch can change anything. But I still think that Usyk's gonna. The thing is, just let Fury sort of work a bit in the first early rounds, but once he starts to tire, just really up the tempo, and after that, it's just a question if Fury can hold on, really. But Fury to win the first half of the fight, but then Usyk to win the second half. That's how I see that one panning out. But it's not impossible though for Fury to get a win, and that's certainly what Damien Handel 420 is going to be hoping for. Dr. Maxis 2 next to face the wheel. Let's see whose corner he's going to be in. And that's, as I've just mentioned, that's a tall ask. He's got Dave Allen. The first of this first person in this game to get Dave Allen, but as I said, up against Johnny Fisher, that's a tall ask. Um, it's just a question if he can be if he can hold on. Uh, let's look a little bit more into those losses anyway. 6 losses, 4 of them by knockout. Let's just see some of the names he's lost to, as they are fairly respectable names, to be fair. Fraser Clark, David Price, Dillian White, Tony Yoka, and Luis Ortiz are some of the notable ones. So they're all uh, they're all noteworthy names in the heavyweight division. But I think Johnny Fisher's just going to add his name to that list. But he shows that Dave Allen's basically the gatekeeper, one of the gatekeepers of the heavyweight division. Maybe, I mean, you can say Derek Chisora is a heavyweight gatekeeper, but I'd say Chisora is a little bit more of a higher up gatekeeper. He's more of a gatekeeper to the top 10, whereas Dave Allen's maybe more of a gatekeeper to the top 20, top 25, perhaps. But I think Fisher's going to be able to get past him relatively easily, to be honest. El Guapo is next to face the wheel. Let's see who the wheel's going to throw us in. Let's see. Right on the edge there, but he gets Muhammad Alakel. If it was the other side of that line, he'd have got the absolute no hope Joshua Campo. Yeah, and as I said, this is the typical boxing politics. Very young, inexperienced fighter up against seasoned journeyman. A lot of losses on their record, but rarely gets knocked out. So fairly straightforward unanimous decision win there for El Guapo and Muhammad Alakel. Yeah, not really a whole lot I can add to that. It's first fight on the card, so if there is going to be an upset or anything, or they'll learn their fate anyway early on. Foghorn Sam is next to face the wheel. Let's see. Who's the wheel going to land on? He gets Lee McGregor. Lee McGregor there for Foghorn Sam. And as I mentioned, it's one of the most intriguing ones, probably one of the closest ones. Lee McGregor, slight favourite against Isaac Lowe, and I've certainly got him to win 8th round knockout later on, simply because he's won most of his fights by knockout. Isaac Lowe has been knocked out twice before. Funny enough, because it's kind of hard to keep track, but this, given how many belts there are in boxing, but this is actually a title fight. There's actually, I think, quite a few of the ones I've not really mentioned them so far, but yeah, this is actually a title fight. The WBC International title, 126 pounds. So yeah, it's just it's there's so many belts in boxing, it's ridiculous. So I'm not sure how much weight this one really holds in terms of rankings and securing other title fights, but it's a belt. It's a nice pretty belt if for whoever wins. And I reckon McGregor's going to be the one holding that belt. But yeah, as I said, the Atuma Moses Atuma versus Dempsey McKean, Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. There's another fight on the card as well. They're all title fights as well. So yeah, there's a few title fights scattered around. Obviously, only one fight really matters, but there are some nice shiny belts on the line. So if you'll decide to watch it tomorrow, and which I think, to be honest, you should, because there's not a whole lot else going on. This is as good as boxing gets, really. Only one layup match, which is right at the beginning. So yeah, if you do see a lot of belts being handed out tomorrow night, that's why. There's a lot of nice, shiny, pretty belts being given out by given out by the Saudis and the various other commissions to want to get their share of the purse. Anyway, before I get a little bit too cynical about boxing commissions, anyway, it's your boy SB next to Face the Wheel, who would never be as corrupt as a boxing commission. And it's your boy SB with Tyson Fury. Yeah, as I said, if he's going to need to make that extra weight count, potentially find a knockout, because I don't see how he's not going to be able to outbox Usyk. That's just not happening. The only way he'll be able to do it is if he manages to injure Usyk early or manages to tire him out, but or potentially find an early stoppage, really. So we'll see if we can make that extra £55 count. You should be able to an extent. Whether it be enough to affect Usyk, I don't think it will be, but it's especially seeing Usyk's already fought. They've already, like I say, he's already fought. He's going to come back from that fight. I think, oh bloody hell, that guy was a bit heavy, wasn't he? Let's see how I can better cope with that next time around. But yeah, anyway, I still fancy Usyk for that one. Jack Soto next to Face the Wheel, hoping that he'll be one of the winners of this game. Let's see if he gets drawn with. And yeah, I reckon he will be one of our winners with Johnny Fisher. Yeah, I say it's as I mentioned, this is also one of their title fights. This is the WBA Intercontinental Heavyweight title. I mean, it's a bit of an ironic to Intercontinental when it's fought between two Englishmen, but I mean, whatever. I don't know. It's boxing, but anyway, as I've mentioned several times before now, I reckon it should be. It's just a case of once he finds his rhythm, Fisher will start unloading on Allen, and at that point, it's just a matter of time, really. So yeah, early knockout for Johnny Fisher. Wins should also make Jack Soto one of our winners. KK Kombu next to Face the Wheel. Let's see who's going to be drawn with. Yeah, another one that should be a winner. It does become, even on close cards like this, I will admit, it does become somewhat predictable. So yeah, it's Muhammad Alakel anyway. As I've already mentioned, the 1-0 fighter up against the experienced journeyman, but let's be honest, I'm not saying these journeymen take dives, but they certainly know their place in the sport, shall we say. They know what's expected of them. And particularly when you're someone like Joshua Campo, then you get invited to one of the marquee events in Saudi Arabia to face an inexperienced Saudi Arabian fighter. He knows what's up. Maybe maybe he'll take that as a bit of a fuck you by the Saudis and decide to go out and knock Alakal out. But that is his only way of winning, though. He'll need a knockout if he is going to get a win, because there's no way the judges are giving him that in on the cards, even if he could knock Alakel down in every single round, and is Alakel still going to win? But yeah, long story short, KK Comb is pretty safe to be one of our winners for this special edition, which, as I say, no bearing on the 25th edition, the proper game that's currently going on. The 4 that are through in that one are safe regardless of what happens here. And obviously, there's no comebacks into the game. It's just its own one-off separate game, just to kill the time a bit and celebrate the fact. I mean, it's nearly Christmas, season of goodwill, and it's the Saudis certainly giving us a present with this card. Let's be honest, it is one of the better boxing cards of the year. So it's just a little one-off game to celebrate that. Knife Rusty is next to Face the Wheel. And yeah, also gets Muhammad Ali. So yeah, not really a lot I can add to that other than that should be a very easy unanimous decision win there. So Knife Rusty should also be one of our winners as well. Cushy Cake is next to face the wheel. Let's see, is he also going to get Muhammad Ali? Oh no, he gets a brand new one. I don't recall that name coming up. Dylan Collin. Gives me an opportunity to ramble, much to your delight. I can hear you groaning through the screens already. Right, Dylan Collin, a bit of an underdog, but is undefeated though. This whole match actually is undefeated against Daniel Larpin and Dylan Collin. Uh, Daniel Larpin 10-0 with 4 knockouts, and Dylan Collin is 14-0 with 4 knockouts. So neither are really big power punchers. Not a whole lot of difference in terms of their amateur experience. Larpin 6 wins, 6 losses in amateur, so basically 12 amateur fights. More experience than amateur experience than Colin, who was 2-1 as an amateur, but he's Larpin is minus 1,000 favourite with the bookies. Probably a lot to do with the fact that last time out he fought Octavio Pudiliva, I think that's how you pronounce it. Who was 9-1, knocked him out in the first round. Very impressive performance. So maybe that's why he's such a heavy favourite. Obviously, Dylan Collin himself undefeated, so his last fight was against a 7-0 guy, so he's already taken someone's though. A unanimous decision win against Gaetan Netwembe. I think that's how I pronounce it. Anyway, but Colin is, despite having 4 more fights, he's plus 600 underdog with the bookies. Obviously, Larpin minus 1,000 favourite, as I've mentioned. And I think that's probably suggesting, obviously, Larpin is just either at another skill level or he's already proven himself and beaten better opponents, which, from what I had a quick glance of his record earlier, that certainly seems to be the case. It's two good prospects coming up against each other, and it's just one slightly better than the other. Unfortunately for Cushy Cake, he's got the slight underdog in that one. But who knows? It's one of the closer fights, to be fair. So he's certainly still within a shout, to be honest. Mule Floyd next to see whose corner he's going to be in. Being in the corner of a boxing ring rather than the corner of an MMA cage, and he gets Isaac Lowe. Isaac Lowe there for for Mule Floyd, and I say the other half of the England versus Scotland rivalry against Lee McGregor. I say I do fancy McGregor though. So simply just, I think it's going to be a bit too powerful for Isaac Lowe. But he's only the plus 150 underdog, to be fair. And his last win was against Hasibullah Ahmadi. I think that's how you pronounce it, if I got the pronunciation right, who was 16-1. So a very respectable win there. But against a power puncher like McGregor, I can't really shake the fact that he's already had 2 knockout losses. Yeah, and that is, he doesn't sound much, and it is still a very respectable record, all things considered. But in boxing, it's not quite like MMA. You've really got to really adjust your expectations, your standards. It's unlike like MMA. You can sometimes in veterans they can go up to like 20 losses and still be in with a shout, but no, not with boxing. After a few losses, particularly knockout losses, you really do start to question how far you can go in the sport, especially fairly early in his career. And 3 draws as well, which again, nothing, no shame in getting a draw, but in boxing, winning is absolutely everything. So, yeah. McGregor with the power, Lowe with a couple of knockout losses. It's cruel, but that's just how boxing is. So yeah, Isaac Lowe and Mule Floyd's a little bit of an uphill battle to be if Mule Floyd's going to be one of our winners. Piggy Bank is next to face the wheel. Let's see who's going to be representing Piggy Bank in the squared circle. Another one for Johnny Fisher. That's quite a lot now on Johnny Fisher, I feel. He's come up a lot. I wonder how many there are on him in total. Let me just bear with me a second. I'm just going to have a quick count through. How many times did he come up? Once, twice, thrice. No, it's only the fourth time. At a quick glance, anyway. I feel like I feel like he's come up 5 or 6 times. So no, it's only 4 times apparently. Anyway, but I say as I mentioned 3 times before, anyway, at least 3 times, anyway. One of the better heavyweight prospects. 12 wins, 11 knockouts. Yeah, just a heavyweight knockout machine. Coming up against Dave Allen, who's been knocked out 4 times before in 6 losses, but it's not quite a journeyman. So it's a bit harsh to call him a journeyman, really, but he's definitely been outmatched in this one. Definitely a clear underdog. He's plus 700, Dave Allen, by the way. I'm surprised he's only plus 700, if I'm being completely honest, as cruel as that sounds. Johnny Fisher minus 2,000 favourite. The only real thing you can say against Johnny Fisher is that he just doesn't have any good names on his record as of yet. But 12-0, boxers generally don't at that stage of their career. So it's not really a huge knock against him at all. But it should be enough. It should be a fairly comfortable win there. So Piggy Bank, I reckon, is going to be one of our winners. Rigno is next up. Let's see who Rigno gets drawn with. He gets Daniel Lappin. Daniel Lappin there for Rigno. First time he's come up. So he's the heavy favourite against Dylan Collin. I think this fight should be closer. I don't quite understand the bookies' market here. So I'm assuming obviously Daniel Lappin must be a lot better than I realise. Yeah, 4 less fights in his career than Dylan Collin, but minus 1,000 favourite. Obviously, as I've mentioned, coming off of that first round knockout against Octavia Pudileva. It was 9-1, so bearing in mind he'd have been 9-0 at the time. That's another close fight on paper, and he sparks him out in the first. So, which is a little unusual actually, because as his record suggests, most of his fights have actually gone the distance. So he's not really a knockout artist, but he does certainly have that power in the tank. I've got Daniel Larpin to win a decision here, but who knows? Maybe he could find a way to knock out Collin. But in these undefeated versus undefeated fights, it's kind of hard to know really what the exact weaknesses of the opponents are, because nobody's beaten either of them. So so who knows? This is a real test for both of them. But Rigno definitely got the bookies' favourite in that one. Shat is next to face the wheel. Let's spin the wheel for Shat, and he gets a close, but it's Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury there for Shat. Yeah, as I've mentioned, he's not winning a boxing chess match against Usyk anytime soon, but if like I say, he'll need to rely on getting a knockout early, or just using his weights and just completely tiring out Usyk. But to be honest, I just can't really see. I can see him having a little bit of success in the early rounds with that, but that tactic, and I can see him hurting Usyk, potentially even knocking him down. But as for the rest of the fight, it's just if I felt Fury could keep that up, I would be backing Fury 100%. But I can't see Fury keeping that kind of. If you look at the start, he had start in the middle rounds of the or the early middle rounds anyway. He had in the first fight with Usyk. If he could have kept that kind of pressure up over 12 rounds, this is Fury's fight 100%. But simply as he can't, he doesn't have the stamina to do that for 12 rounds. So in the rounds that he can do that in, he'll need to make that damage count. But I don't think it's going to be able to hurt Usyk enough to have that much of an effect, or not enough to stop Usyk turning it up in the later rounds and getting a win. Schwer Industry is next face the wheel. Let's see who he gets drawn with. He also gets Lee McGregor, as I've mentioned earlier. It's going to end up repeating myself quite a lot, but so yeah, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. England versus Scotland. Despite being an Englishman myself, I reckon the Scotsman Lee McGregor has just got the power to add another knockout loss onto Isaac Lowe's record. Is one of the closer fights though, so who knows? Maybe Isaac Lowe can cause a little bit of an upset. The bookies seem to think so because this is Isaac Lowe's only a plus 150 favourite. McGregor's only a minus 190 favourite. So the bookies certainly seem a little bit more nervous about this than I appear to be, or than it looks like. So I don't know. Maybe it will turn out to be a very close nail biter, but I reckon it will be close at times. I just reckon that in terms of the final results, it's going to be a fairly decisive one, with McGregor winning a late knockout, particularly the 8th round. I fancy for that one. Usyk is next to learn his fate in the hands of the Wheel of Doom. And yep, yours truly, Johnny Fisher again. I think it's 5 times now he's come up. Yeah, what else can I say other than I expect the Romford Bulls to knock out Dave Allen. Simple as that. Early as well. So the 3rd round knockout. Maybe Dave Allen can use his experience to drag out, perhaps even taking the distance, but I can't really see that happening. It's just a matter of how long Allen can hold out, in my opinion. But despite a lack of analysis on this particular one, it's CN6 should be one of our winners, and I think that's all he's going to care about. Me, Stephen Terry. Let's see who I get drawn with. Let's see what the wheel has in store for me. And he's given me Dylan Collin. Yes, I'm a bit of an underdog with that one, but could be worse. So Dylan Collin, the plus 600 underdog against Daniel Larpin, who, I say, if the betting odds are anything to go by, looks like a very good prospect. 10-0 minus 1,000 favourite. So me and my plus 600 underdog, Dylan Collin. He got a unanimous decision win against 7-0 Gaetan Natamboy last time out. Maybe he can cause another little upset there, but it does appear that Larpin is the heavier favourite, the more promising prospect. But somebody's O's got to go, so it's a little bit more unpredictable in that sense. The dirty UFC man is next to face the wheel. Well, the UFC doesn't have anything to do with this one, I'm afraid. It's all about boxing this time around. Tyson Fury, who, funny enough, Tyson Fury does actually appear in as a playable character in UFC 4, which is interesting. Completely random bit of trivia, but just saying it'd be that yeah, I'll say he's got nothing to do with the UFC, and in real life, he's got nothing to do with the UFC. But certainly the only fighter on this card to appear in a UFC game, so that's something, I suppose, somewhat appropriate for the dirty UFC man. As I've mentioned before, it's just a case of he's got to get Usyk out of there early, or at least hurt Usyk enough in the early rounds that Usyk doesn't have the strength or energy to turn it up as he normally does in the championship rounds. But That's Fury's only hope. I can't see it happening, if I'm being completely honest. Another person with a name not really appropriate for boxing, the MMA historian, well, is or the boxing historian this time around. And I think he's going to be boxing history. He's got Joshua Campo, probably the one that's got the least chance of all of them on the cards. Obviously, just a reminder to anyone who's forgotten, he's the journeyman facing Muhammad Al in the first fights, the hometown favourite, the 1-0 Saudi favourite to kick things off. And Joshua Campo, obviously, 8 wins, 33 losses, 5 draws. Maybe he can squeak another win or a draw, but if he does, I can't see him invited back to Saudi. Let's be honest. If he does knock out Alakel, he's not getting another spot on the marquee cards under Turkey, where Al Sheikh, whatever his name is. Anyway, Trail Allman next to face the wheel. Down to our last 5 now. Let's see who Trail Allman gets drawn with. Oh, it's a new one. Later on in the game, it's Serhii Bohachuk. If I've pronounced that right, apologies to him if I haven't. Bohachuk. How are we spelling that? Bohachuk. Serhii Bohachuk. And co-main event up against Ishmael Davis. That's like his fellow countryman. He's also from Ukraine, Usyk, and so co-main and the main. Funny enough, co-main and main Englishman versus Ukrainians. Serhei Bohachuk has a fairly impressive record: 24 wins, 2 losses. Of those 24 wins, noteworthy is 23 by way of knockout. I'm not quite sure how it skips over that, but yeah, it's 2 losses. But if he does win, he's going to win by knocking the other guy out. That's for sure. Was one of his losses, the one with the most noteworthy name, was last time out. Actually, he didn't get knocked out. It was a majority decision loss against Virgil Ortiz Jr. So a very respectable loss there against one of the best at 154 pounds. So a close fight last time. As for his opponent, let's have a look. Ishmael Davis, 13-1, 6 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Lost to Josh Kelly last time out. Josh Kelly's a very respectable, certainly British and European level fighter. So again, not a whole lot to take away from that. So you can't really knock him for that loss. The trouble is, if he hasn't got past Josh Kelly, it's a bit of a tall ask for him to get past Bohachuk as well. Bohachuk more experienced. And like I say, had a very close fight with Virgil Ortiz, so it's Bohachuk is the heavy favourite, and rightly so, if I'm being honest, and especially given he ends most of his fights inside the distance. I've got him to win by a 7th round knockout. He's minus 1,000 as well in terms of the bookies' favourite. Ishmael Davis plus 600, but Ishmael Davis is a very promising looking fighter so far at British level. Anyway, I don't know where he stands exactly in the European and world's level, but a little early to say. But I think it's really being thrown to the wolves here against Bohachuk. Trig next to face the wheel. Let's see who's the wheel's got in store for Trig. And he gets Peter McGrail. Peter McGrail there for Trig. And first time Peter McGrail has come up as one of the fighters representing our players in this game. 10 wins, 1 loss, 6 of those wins by knockout. Very distinguished amateur career, though. 53 wins, 18 losses. So he's certainly more experienced than his pro record suggests. Um, Moderate favourite for this, minus 450 betting favourite. Um, his last loss, though, versus, as you know, has Peter McGrail come up before? I'm pretty sure I've gone over this before. First trip to the USA, he got knocked out. That's one way to wait. US introduction. I haven't said it. Anthony Joshua did that as well. First trip in his first fight in the United States up against a chubby little Mexican called Andy Ruiz Jr., who also gets knocked out. So yeah, if you're a British fighter, just don't go to the States. Just it's cursed. In fact, just don't go to the States at all. That's pretty solid advice anyway. But especially not if you're a boxer. But anyway, this is happening in Saudi Arabia, much safer country. Um, so maybe a more favourable result there for Peter McGrail this time around. Troz next to face the wheel. And Troz, I was going to say, joining the Johnny Fisher train. Is there any room left on that train? What is the capacity of those carriages? Because there's a lot of people riding on Johnny Fisher in this one. Riding on the Romford Bull Express. Yeah, I say I'm predicting an early knockout of Dave Allen. Simple as that's all I really can say about that. But it's enough to make Troz one of our winners fairly comfortably, in my opinion. So that's all he's going to care about. Uber match next to face the wheel. Let's see. Let's see who's going to be drawn with. Oh, and we got a new name. Edgar Ramirez. Edgar Ramirez there for Uber match. Let's see. It's massive underdog, unfortunately. Plus 1,000 favourites against Andrei Novitsky. Again, apologies if I've mispronounced that one. Ramirez is what record? 10 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. 4 of those by knockout. No major wins on his records. But he's a tough opponent, durable opponent. So it's going to be hard to stop, even with Andre, and obviously 13-0 with 10 of those coming by knockout. Despite that, I reckon that Ramirez is tough enough that should be able to take him the distance. And also, 10 wins and 13 losses as an amateur for Ramirez as well, which, okay, is not the greatest of amateur records, but again, it just highlights that he is a bit more experienced than his pro record makes him out to be. So even though Andrei Novitsky's got more pro fights under his belt, Ramirez very much is equal in terms of experience, if not more so. And part of the reason Novitsky is such a heavy favourite is because earlier this year he's got a first round knockout of Keith Rydell Myers Jr., who was 15-2. So okay, in terms of boxing, a bit of a respectable but middling opponent. But to knock someone out in the first round like that with that kind of record is certainly enough especially when you're 13-0 for people to sit up and take notice. So that's probably contributes to why he's such a heavy favourite. But Ramirez is fighting an uphill battle, but I reckon he can survive. But can he win? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But certainly a durable fighter. I'm expecting him to at least hit a final bell anyway. And finally, we have ex-con Chris, the last person to learn their fate. That's what happens when you start using A with an X. You end up at the bottom of the list. And he'll also have to rate right to the end of the card because he's got Tyson Fury, who, again, I feel like Johnny Fisher, I feel like he's come up a lot, actually. Needs to make his weight count, needs to make his brute strength count, maybe fight a little dirty as well, let's be honest. few sneaky elbows, sneaky headbutts. I mean, it's all legal if the ref don't see, isn't it? But yeah, a bit of an uphill battle anyway. Only a slight underdog, but so you can't completely write him off. But I think Usyk is very much these are two of the best fighters of their generation, the two best heavyweights in the world. Let's not forget that. But I just think that Usyk is just slightly at another level. Usyk will be Fury will be remembered as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. But I think the difference is, I think that come the end of his career, I think Usyk will be remembered as one of the all-time pound for pound greats. Not just a heavyweight great, but one of the all-time pound for pound greats. And I think that is probably the best way of describing the slight difference in level. A heavyweight legend up against a pound for pound legend. Anyway, that concludes the draw for the what am I talking about? Completely lost my fucking head. I should not have been sipping on the Jamesons the whole video, but anyhow, so here we go. Just go through those names one more time. That concludes, concludes the draw. So I'm not going to attempt to work out who's in terms of who's head to head against who. To be fair, Troz usually does an excellent job of that. So I'll just give him a shout out. For that as well, because he usually makes some great charts which really show a lot better than my Excel sheet does. Who's fighting who, who's what's at stake, and how many's on certain fighters. It's a very well done chart. So just props to him for that. And also, while I'm at it, I'll give a shout out to El Guapo as well for his running commentary. Always very amusing. And when it's going down, it really brings the life to the game. So thank you both for that. And of course, not forgetting as well, Neil Floyd as well usually does some great breakdowns of the cards as well. So yeah, just a shout out to all of you and all of the other ones as well who just generally chat shit in the thread. It helps to really give the game an atmosphere. So I do appreciate that. There's no such thing as bad engagement. If you want to say anything in the thread, please do, because it really does bring the game to life. Anyway, let's just run through those one more time. A gets Muhammad Alakel, Bellatrix with Johnny Fisher, Boom Shakalaka with Joshua Ocampo, Cal Foss with Reese Edwards, and Hager Ariz with Dempsey McKean, as is Captain Quebec. C. Collins 44 with Mohamed Alakel, Cheeseball with Lee McGregor, Corhan Puke with Alexander Usyk, Damas with Johnny Fisher, Damien Handel 420 with Tyson Fury, Dr. Maxis 2 with Dave Allen, El Guapo with Mohamed Alakel, Foghorn Sam with Lee McGregor, It's Your Boy SB with Tyson Fury, Jack Soto with Johnny Fisher, KK Kombu with Mohamed Alakel, as is Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake with Dylan Collin, Mule Floyd with Isaac Lowe, Piggy Bank with Johnny Fisher, Rigno with Daniel Lapin, Shat with Tyson Fury, Schwer Industry with Lee McGregor, Sion 6 with Johnny Fisher, Stephen Terry, myself with Dylan Collin, The Dirty UFC Man with Tyson Fury, The MMA Historian with Joshua Ocampo, Trail Allman with Serhii Boachuk, Trig with Peter McGrail, Troz with Johnny Fisher, Ubermatch with Edgar Ramirez, and Excon Chris with Tyson Fury. So that concludes the special edition of this game. As I've mentioned before, this will be the first and only round of this one-off game. So if your fighter wins, you're one of the winners. Congratulations. Pour yourself an extra drink. If your fighter loses, it's you're just one of the losers. But if you are one of the four that are still in the main game, the 25th edition that is currently ongoing, if you do lose in this one, do not worry. Your spot in the 25th edition is still safe. This is like I say, completely separate to the 25th edition that's currently ongoing. This is just a one-off novelty just to kill the gap while we're waiting for the UFC to come back from their Christmas break. Um, so best of luck to everyone in this one-off edition, and I'll say I can expect about half of you to be winners, half of you to be losers. I love this to become a bit of a tradition as well, because we did it last year as well with the Day of Reckoning card. So it seems that as long as just before Christmas every year the Saudis give us a good boxing card, then this could become a little Tapology Christmas tradition. It depends how sustainable the Saudi boxing model is, of course, but long may it continue for now. Anyway, all that leaves me to say is good luck to all of you. Good luck to anyone who's got bets on this card. Good luck with your predictions and Tapology, and Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy New Year as well if it is your new year. And until well, I see the next UFC card's 12th of January, so I'll probably be making the video for it on the 11th of January. So until then, until when we continue, that'll be the continuation of the 25th edition, the 6 round draw. So yeah, until the 6 round draw on the 11th of January, so long for now.